Welcome to video 1 in a series of introductory videos for SolidCAM. This video's topic is global settings. So the global settings are essentially just the defaults for the software. So when you first open up your part file and you want to begin programming, what is automatically selected for things like the post, the stock definition, locations of where you're saving that file, locations where you're pulling your tool tables from, all that sort of stuff. So take a look at it now. So in terms of where to find it, you go to your SolidWorks, you go to Tools, SolidCAM, SolidCAM Settings. You'll notice I'm doing this outside of a part file. Again, because these are the global settings, this has to be done outside of any part file. And here are the settings. So starting from the top, user directories. This is the location of all the files that you're pulling in terms of the usage of the software. So in terms of where you're saving it, CAM part directory is where you're saving your files when you work on them, unless you actually tell it where you'd like to specifically save it. And we'll see that once we get to video 3. But in this case, the defaults are the CAM part directory is that directory right there, or anywhere you browse when you click on the browse button. You can choose any other place on your hard drive or on your network. Additional files, you'll see that I have it pointing to the inch folder, but if you're working with metric, if I just scroll down here, you can see that there is a metric folder. So that is the location of all my tool tables, my holders, anything that I've defined either globally or inside of a part file. We can save them in this directory here. This is just for the everything else sort of folder. Thread tables, there is an Excel file located there. And again, I can browse to those different locations. And then my iMachining database is located there. And again, I can browse to wherever I want. Let's go to units. This is the unit of measure that will be used inside the part file. These are just defaults. So when you first open up your part file, you'll see that it automatically will be selected, in my case, to inch. But if I need to work on a metric part, or I want to output code in metric, then on the part side, I can actually choose which unit I'd like to use. This is, again, just the simple default. When I first open up the part file, it will have this as the first selection. Default CNC controller. This is the location of where my post files are being kept. Again, I can change this to any location I want. Right now, I have it set to the default location of the GPP tool folder in SolidCAM 2018. These selections here in the pull-down menus, you'll see I have all my posts listed here. This is essentially just what the first post selected would be as soon as I open up the part file. So I can change it to whatever post I need to once I first open up the part file, but it'll automatically just be defaulted to this selection. So this would be the most common machine that I'm posting to, or maybe my only machine. Maybe I only have one post. So there's no need for me to go through the list and choose it every single time. You'll see that I've chosen the Haas SS post from my list. For turning, I have the same ability. I just choose from my list of posts for turning, for mill turn, and for wire. And those are just the defaults again. As soon as I open up the part file, I don't have to worry about selecting my post because I've selected it here. So every time I open up a new part file, it will always have that post selected. G-code. So when you post the code in your part file, where it'll actually be saved. So it could either be in the CAM part directory, so where you chose to save that file, in a folder, in a directory near the CAM part. So you select that from here, and you just tell it where you'd like it to go. Essentially, everywhere, every option on this list is really just where to save the G-code. Something dictated by your VMID file in a particular G-code directory. So this could be somewhere on your network. This could be the directory that your DNC is pointing to. Let's go down to here where I choose which software I'm opening up that G-code in. So as soon as I post the file, if I'd like to open it, check this box, and then it opens it in whatever software I choose. In this case, I have it set to Notepad, but I could browse to whatever software I have and get it to open up in there. So that could be your Simcode, that could be your Predator, whatever software you want to review your G-code before you actually send it out to the shop, you can select it in that list. CAM part is the automatic selections or not, automatically selecting options related to the part files. So what I mean by that is there is some options in here to skip these windows completely. You could do the defaults here, and then when you open up your CAM part file, you skip everything that you're about to select in this window. I don't advise that for training because you'd like to see what happens in the background, but there are times where if you're always working with the same post. You're always working with external files. You're always doing such and such. Everything we're choosing in this menu here, there's a lot of ways to just get it to automatically be selected and then skip that selection in the future. So here we are with internal versus external. We'll take a look at that when we get to video 3, but all we need to know for this video is really just that the options exist in here to select them. One thing of note here is this is your temporary folder location. This is the location that your file is being saved to while you're working on it. While you're working on a SolidCAM file, you actually tell it where you'd like to save it at the end of the file. Once you close it, it saves to that final location. But this temporary folder is where it's actually being saved while you're working on it. We're constantly saving to this folder. This is so that if you're working on your network, you don't actually have to keep trying to connect with your network. You can actually work locally, and then when you're done and you properly close the file, you'll send it to the temporary folder. So that's just that right there. Everything else under CAM part is really just the automatics of what happens. So as soon as I open up my milling part, I'd like it to automatically create a machine setup for me. But in this case, I don't want it to automatically define the target. And the same for all of these ones here. I just don't want it to do all of these. The only thing I want it to do is to create the machine setup for me. So I've turned those all off. Now that is a good way for training purposes, but again, this is a way to skip a couple of steps. If I want it to automatically define my stock for me, define my target for me based off the solid I bring into the part file, then I can tell it to do so here. Let's go down to defaults. So defaults is again just everything related to the software itself. So as soon as I open up, let's say I create a operation or I'm choosing a piece of geometry, I can give it these automatic names. Everything else on this list is mainly just that sort of thing where it's what happens automatically for you. I'm just going to skip down to tool table, and you can see that you can set up a default tool table. So as soon as we open up a part file, what do we want the first tool table to be when I go to grab a tool table? So this might just be the same tool list you always go to every time. Maybe your machine has a set of 20 tools and you always just use those 20 tools. You don't want to have to go browsing for the tool table. You can just say automatically load that tool table there. And then when I click OK, I save those settings. That concludes video 1 of the introductory series of videos for SolidCAM. Stay tuned for the rest of the videos in this series. But if you have any questions on this or anything else from SolidCAM, you can always call us at 1-866-975-1115 extension 2, or submit us a ticket on solidcamsupport.com, and we can take a look at your parts or troubleshoot any issues you have. Thanks for watching.